I'm here with Brandon for another episode of Cold Email Breakdown. And in this series, our objective is to build a campaign which performs better than average. So most people, when they launch cold email campaigns, they blast out thousands of emails to a really generic lead list, and they receive a really low response rate, and often they get their email accounts blacklisted along the way. And what we're trying to do here is the complete opposite. Our goal is to build a highly relevant lead list, ideally an evergreen lead list, which is self-replenishing automatically each week or each month. And we're also aiming to get a really high positive response rate so that our email accounts don't get blacklisted, so that what we're building here is not just a typical email campaign, but it's actually going to be a ongoing, sustainable cold email campaign which can bring in new customers on a weekly or monthly basis forever. Now, Brandon, thanks for joining me. If you don't mind just explaining to everyone, who you are and what you do and what your goal is with cold email.
Yeah, my name is Brandon. I'm a recruiter. That's a small agency, and my goal with cold email is to really help my business development side of things. And hopefully talking with you, I'm excited to enhance what I have and hopefully learn some new methods and make things easier for me and open up some time.
All right, thanks. Now, I think we should probably start by establishing exactly who your ideal customer profile is, so who you'd want to be reaching out to. Are you reaching out to candidates, or are you reaching out to other recruiters, or how does it work?
So ideally for business development, I'm going to be reaching out to hiring managers, usually going to be directors, VPs, presidents, executive level people. Since I'm a smaller agency, I'm looking at company sizes from 10 to 500 employees usually, and that HR managers, directors, things like that. Usually those company sizes don't have recruiting groups already, so they're more open to utilizing someone like me, and there's less red tape for someone smaller like me.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Now, I think it'll be helpful for everyone watching this, but also for you, hopefully, for me to just quickly explain what an evergreen campaign is. And I want to show a real example of an evergreen campaign that I'm currently running for Email Chaser. And once we sort of establish what that is, I want to see if there's a way to do something similar for you, so you can build something similar on your end. So yeah, so for anyone who's never heard of an evergreen cold email campaign, all that means is launching a cold email campaign which every week or every month has a new set of leads being added to it automatically so that it never ends. So it's a constant inflow of new clients for your business. And the reason why that's important to understand is because most people, when they launch a cold email campaign, the way that they view the situation is they say, okay, I'm going to somehow make a list of 20,000 people and I'm just going to somehow blast out all the emails, and then magically they're all going to respond to me without me getting spam. And that's how the average person approaches the situation. And that's the wrong thing to do for 100 different reasons that we don't even have time to talk about on this call. But instead of doing that, it's better to target a really highly relevant lead list of fresh leads. Because the thing is when you're sending a cold email to someone, the right moment for them to need your product or service it's not consistent throughout the year. The person you're reaching out to might only need your product or service at a specific time in the year. So it's important that you reach out to them at that right moment. And that also obviously brings relevancy to your email, because you can say to them, hey, I saw maybe you posted this job listing for this person that you're trying to find, and so I'm reaching out to you. So you're getting the right time, and you're also adding relevancy to your email because you're providing a real reason as to why you're reaching out. You're not just coming out of nowhere unannounced. There's some kind of context. Now, we're going to try to build something like that for you on this call. But before we do that, I just want to show you an example of a real evergreen campaign that I'm running here, Email Chaser. So let me actually I'm going to share my screen with you real quick so you can see what I'm looking at. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a Google spreadsheet, which I have, and every single row that you see here is a website of a different company, which is currently using one of the email warm-up tools that one of our competitors provides. Now, this cold email campaign is for Email Chaser. So Email Chaser is obviously a cold email software. So our ideal customer type is someone who already sends cold emails. I don't want to, we don't want to just reach out to random business owners, because most business owners don't even know what cold email is. So instead, what we're doing here is we're making a list of people that already send cold emails because they're already using one of our competitor tools or their warm-up tool. And then so we're able to reach out to these people, and we're going to have a 10 times higher positive response rate because we're reaching out to only qualified people. And in case you're wondering how we made a list of people that use our competitor's tool, when you use an email warm-up tool, you add your email accounts to a warm-up network, and then all these email accounts send fake emails to each other. And the whole point is to artificially manipulate the response rate of those email accounts in an effort to improve deliverability. So what we did here is we hired a guy for a low amount of money to build a custom scraper that just scrapes their warm-up pool every single month. So every single month, we have a list of every single company using their warm-up pool, and all the new companies that we scrape are then added into this Google spreadsheet automatically every month. And in case anyone's interested in the exact details, most people when they send cold emails send their emails from secondary domains to protect the primary domain, but all the secondary domains obviously 301 redirect to the primary domain. So we're still able to, we can still see what the real website is for each company, and then automatically add it in here, and then also at the same time remove duplicates, so we're not adding the same company more than once. And so we have this very big list of companies that are using our competitors' tools. And from here, what we do is we then hire a VA to basically go through each company and add basically the founder or CEO of each company with their email address and all this information, including their LinkedIn profile, everything. And that might sound like a really manual process, which you'd be right to think so, but you can hire someone for a very low amount of money. I'm talking only a few $100s per month from a site like onlinejobs.ph. And this is just an example. I'm not saying everyone has to do this exact strategy, but you can hire someone on this site for a very low amount of money to basically go through the list of hundreds or thousands of websites and then add their owners or CEOs to a Google spreadsheet like this with all their additional information, email addresses. And in case you're wondering where we found the email addresses from, we just used Email Chaser's email finder tool. There's also other tools out there which you can upload a CSV file and it'll find them automatically. So there's a lot of ways to do this, and I don't want to get stuck on the details. But the point is this Google spreadsheet right here is connected to a campaign inside Email Chaser. And so every time a new lead is added to this Google spreadsheet, it's then automatically added to a campaign in Email Chaser, and then it's sent the email sequence. And this is done automatically. We have the system set up already. So every month, new people are being added. Doesn't require any real effort from us. And it brings in new customers for Email Chaser every single month. So we're getting about a 20 to 30% positive response rate on this campaign, which is obviously very high compared to the average cold email campaign. And in case you're wondering how you connect a Google spreadsheet like this to your campaign in Email Chaser, all you have to do is when you open up Email Chaser is create a campaign. And when you're creating the campaign, you just go through. So you click the Create Campaign button, you click Next, you connect your email accounts. And then once you get to this page, you want to select the API drip feed option and then click Next. And you'll notice that the first option here is Google Sheets. And if you choose this option, you can then connect your Google spreadsheet, which I just showed you here, to this campaign. And then as I already explained, every single time a new lead is added to the Google spreadsheet, it's automatically added to the campaign. Now, I'm not trying to make this a promotion for Email Chaser. I'm actually the point of this call is to actually help you build your campaign. So let's get back to that. Do you have any thoughts there on what I just said in terms of how you think that might apply to what you're doing?
Yeah, that definitely would apply. There's a lot of tools and things you're using there that I don't think probably a lot of people think, and I definitely wasn't. It's definitely working a lot smarter than harder, and just realizing the capabilities there. So, yeah, for me, I think finding like the warmest leads are going to be, as a recruiter, be linked to like jobs posted on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure there's a way to look at those. Obviously, yeah, you can set up alerts to have those come in, and then every job, maybe like I'm in the Dallas area, that opens up within a 50-mile radius of here. Look at that data, and then either sometimes there's people connected with that job, or finding just the company, as long as it's between 10 and 500 employees, and then getting the information for like the HR manager, and then maybe the VP of technology or something similar like that.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about this is you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but since you're in recruiting, which is a huge market, if you can get this working, for example, in Dallas or whatever location really well, you could probably scale this. I mean, if you can set up the system in one place and it's working really well, there's no reason you can't just keep scaling it and just keep.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's no real limit here. I mean, there's so many job postings every day across. I mean, not just the U.S. but anywhere, that it's if you find that winning campaign that has a really high positive response rate, just keep scaling. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my first thought is, start in the Dallas area for certain jobs, but then, there's other niches I could explore. Like, other recruiting we've done is like recruiting for manufacturing companies that are in more rural areas, and then just trading alerts for that, and just focusing, having a whole campaign just dedicated to manufacturing companies, so that there's a niche I'm trying to focus on with aviation, just focusing on that nationwide. So there's a lot of options.
Yeah. One thing I just want to mention is, and I'm not saying this is your opinion, by the way. I'm just saying this is what a lot of people think. A lot of people who come into cold email, they think that cold email is this thing where you just press one button and then magically you have thousands of new customers for your business with zero effort. And if you said that about any other customer acquisition strategy, people would laugh at you. If you said, for example, I have no experience in SEO or search engine optimization, but I'm going to just somehow magically build a website with the best SEO ever and get 100,000 organic visitors per month within a month. People laughing, they'd say, no, it takes 10 years to really understand how to do SEO well and how to execute that plan properly. Yeah. So again, I'm not saying this is you, but just in general, a lot of people, they come into cold email thinking, oh, all I need to do is sign up for some cold email tool and export some 10,000 leads from Apollo or whatever, and just press a few buttons and magically it takes care of itself. But in reality, if you want to have true success with cold email, you have to do something like what we're describing in this conversation, where you really have to think outside the box, and you have to do something which the average person's not doing, because you're just sending generic emails to generic leads with a super low response rate is only going to lead to you having blacklisted email counts, and it's just a waste of time and waste of money. Whereas if you do what we're potentially going to do here, then it's just way better. So is it okay if I share my screen one more time? So I want to show you a couple things related to how you could actually execute on this plan. I'm trying to give some sort of more practical advice. On LinkedIn, when companies make job posts, you can see the company and everything. And my LinkedIn account for some reason isn't set up right now to see jobs, but I went onto YouTube here and I just kind of found a video showing what it looks like, and as you can, you already know this obviously, but just for anyone watching this, you can see that.
That's what it looks like.
No, again, something like this, when you're, you can see the companies that are hiring on LinkedIn, and it actually tells you the name. I think in a lot of situations, it's telling you the name of the company. Once you have the name of the company or their website, it's then pretty easy, especially on LinkedIn, to then find who the hiring manager is, or, I mean, it depends on the company. I mean, if it's some huge Fortune 500 company, emailing their CEO is not a good idea, obviously, because they're not in charge of that specific hiring. But if it's a smaller company, then that might work. But what I'm trying to say is, you can see all the companies hiring on LinkedIn like this. And once you establish that, you can go to a website like Fiverr, and you can type in something like scraper web scraping, and you'll see that you can hire someone for next to nothing to build a custom scraper for you. I mean, look, these prices are starting at $30. I mean, like, this is not, we're not talking about building some software for NASA here. This is really basic stuff. So for $30, let's just call it $100, whatever it is, you can build a custom scraper, which this person will be able to maintain for you every week or every month for, again, probably next to nothing. And that scraper will be able to come into LinkedIn and scrape all the new job postings, and it will then add the website of each company, or maybe the hiring manager or whatever, into a Google spreadsheet similar to this, like I showed you earlier. And then once you have that information, you can then there's different ways of doing it. I mean, one way is to hire a VA, like I showed you from this website, and then that VA will then put the information, email address of each lead manually. And one VA who you hire for maybe only $300 per month can get through anywhere from about 1,000 to 2,000 leads per month. So I don't know what the value is of a single client for your business, but if a single client is worth more than $1,000 or even $500, you're already paying for itself.
Oh yeah. With the VAs for something like this, do they usually know how to do this, or do they require some training on your end, or just? So usually what you want to do is, whoever you hire, first obviously establish that they speak English. That's pretty important. But assuming they speak English, which they usually do, then you just want to basically create a very simple Google document, which you can send to them. And in the Google document, you're going to have a very simple, maybe step-by-step instructions of what you want them to do. And then for each step, you'll have a Loom video that you record, so you're going to have to show them how to do it in the Loom video. And you're going to show them a real example. And then what you tell them is, when they start doing this work for you, it's extremely important that they message you when they finish the first 10 leads, so that you can manually inspect the work that they've done. And once you've established that the first 10 leads are all correct and they haven't made any mistakes, then they can continue with the rest. Otherwise, they might just go off and make mistakes. Yeah. Totally makes sense.
Yes. But everything we're saying here this is all really basic stuff. I'm not saying anything here which is this is not rocket. Yeah.
I've seen this before. I guess it's just customizing it to me personally and the kind of leads I need.
Exactly. All right. So we've already been talking for about 20 minutes. I know your time is valuable, so I don't want to keep dragging this on for too long. I think it would be a good idea for us to now go into the actual email copy. I think it would be cool if we can actually attempt to write an email, which you can then take for yourself, and then you can use this email if you want. You can edit it later. You can test it in your campaigns and see how it performs. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. So as you can see on my screen, this is a Google document that I have open, and this is a general framework I usually like to use when I'm writing a cold email. There's obviously situations where you don't want to follow this framework, but in most situations this works pretty well. Now, if you go to the Email Chaser website and then you go to our blog, there's an article up here called How to Write a Cold Email. And if you click on that article, the framework that I'm showing you in this Google document is the exact same framework that you see on this article. Just for future reference, anyone watching this, if you want to see this framework, you can go to this article and you can see it right here. But basically, if you go into LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever, the average cold email that people are sending is full of BS AI personalization, and it just looks like a sales email. It looks very automated and fake. Yeah, it's just obvious. It's just garbage. And people get those emails and they either ignore them or report them to spam or delete them because they know that they're not written by a real person. The entire goal here is to write an email where it looks like you are sending an email just to this one person. If they think you're sending the same email to 1,000 people, they're not going to respond. So the way that we achieve that and the way that we make our prospects believe that we're sending this email just to them is by adding relevancy to the email. And relevancy does not come from personalization. So just because you use an AI personalization tool, which adds some random first line about some random information you found on their LinkedIn profile or website, that's not relevancy. That doesn't make any difference. That's actually probably hurting you. What relevancy is in the context of cold email is basically telling the prospect why you're reaching out to them and what about them or what about the situation made it relevant for you to reach out to them. So what I like to do, and again, this is just what I do. I'm not saying this is the best situation for every single email out there, but in general, I like to tie the subject line to the PS line, and I tie them together. And usually in the subject line, I'll say something related to basically where I found the prospect, or what is it about the prospect or situation that made me want to reach out to them. And then I'll sort of reiterate that in the PS line. So I'll give you an example right here. And again, to write the perfect cold email, it might take an hour of editing. So the email that we're about to write here is not necessarily the finished version, but it'll be a good general idea, which you can then refine later. So I'm going to start with the subject line and the PS line. We already know that we're going to be getting our leads from LinkedIn. So we're basically getting leads from LinkedIn's job board, and we're looking for companies that are posting jobs because they're trying to hire people. So in the subject line, I might say something like, the job title names. I might add a custom variable saying something like, job name. Because if we go back to that YouTube video, which we were looking at earlier, you can see that each job posting obviously has the name of the job. So, when you hire that person on Fiverr to build that custom scraper, you would obviously tell that person that when they're scraping the information and they're adding that information to the Google Sheet, to make sure that one of the columns is for the job name, so that you can reference that. Yeah. Now, again, everything I'm saying here, by the way, this is sort of on the fly, so I'm making this up as I go along. So
I'm trying to think too,
the details might change. Yeah, like the details might change, but like in general, you might say something like, okay, job name.
I don't know, maybe like if it's like an insurance manager or whatever job, maybe job name followed by candidates, or maybe just the job name.
Yeah, I mean that's probably actually the best thing. Yeah, just the job name, because
if they're wanting to talk to someone like me, they're gonna open it, and if they're not, it doesn't matter what the subject's gonna say. But
yeah,
at least we'll know what it's about.
Exactly, and then additionally, if you start adding things like the prospect's first name into the subject line or quick question or all that kind of stuff, you start to look like a sales email.
Yeah.
And if you look like a sales email, they're more likely to ignore you. So you want to keep it vague but still relevant, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So, and then in the PS line, I would tie that to the subject line. So I'd say something like, PS, I saw that you're looking to hire a an accountant, for example, or a plumber, whatever. Job name in Dallas. So wanted to reach out. Again, that's not necessarily the best way of writing it, but it's just a general idea of what we're trying to do here.
We're spitballing here.
Yeah, exactly. This is the really rough draft of what the final version probably will be. And then, so we've already done the subject line and the PS line, and then the rest of the email is the body. And if we go back down here to this framework that we were discussing, what I usually do, and again, we might do something different for your case here, but what I usually do is I just will tell the person exactly what I do or what I'm going to do for them, and why it's 10 times better than whatever they're currently doing. So a lot of cold emails, they waste the first line with some kind of AI personalization, which has no relevance to the offer and makes you look like a sales email. But if you just cut through the BS and you just get straight to the point and you just say exactly what you do and why it's great, people will just take you more seriously and actually respond to you in a lot of situations. So do you have any ideas of what you could write here without sounding too salesy, if that's possible?
Yeah, I think for me, maybe like all recruiting agencies kind of are similar, but maybe for being small, the advantages would be like I'm the owner and the recruiter. So it's like, you're dealing with me directly instead of kind of a lower level recruiter, or because we are smaller, the rates are more competitive, but I don't know if I want to put that out because sometimes they're not always that. I don't want to like lower my value too.
Sure. Another thing to also consider is that in the very first email you send to someone, if you say things that sound kind of salesy or you start talking about prices and things like that, again, this is not 100%, but you might have a higher likelihood of going to spam because obviously, email service providers, they can see what your email's about. They understand the general idea, and if they determine that it's kind of you're talking about price and numbers and all this kind of stuff on the first email, they might just put you in spam. Potentially, not always, but usually.
Usually with like being a smaller agency, it's kind of like they get the white glove service where we're always like the person they talk with on the sales and recruiting side of things, and they always have like direct access to me or my partner where we're always picking up the phone. It's kind of hard to like break it down to this one line, I guess.
It's like
I'll probably be reaching out to, at least locally, for one niche, people with technology. I personally have over 15 years of recruiting experience in technology. I'm local, which is something else that companies want to see, somebody like who lives nearby.
Wait,
it doesn't totally matter.
When you say technology, it might be helpful that for this example email that we're writing, we just focus in on a really specific job type just for the purpose of the video. So would you say a software developer or what kind of technology?
We could say like semiconductor.
Semiconductor, okay. All right.
Yeah. And then that could lead me to the next line about
I'm trying to think from the perspective of the hiring manager. If I got an email from you and you said something like, I help companies hire semiconductor professionals, that's a lot less appealing compared to I have 3 semiconductor candidates with over 15 years experience ready. I don't know if there's any thoughts there.
I guess we could combine this line into the next line a little bit, kind of mentioning a case study like I just hired on 3 engineers for Texas Instruments and Anora Labs. Yeah, still have access to a lot of engineers. Wanted to reach out, see if we could kind of cross over or share these candidates with you, or
and tie into the offer / call to action, kind of like an offer that basically has no risk, where they would have to be really stupid to say no to, you know? So you try to make the whole thing very appealing.
Yeah, we go, and also like we want to make it a little more generic, because like the job title may not be like test engineer. So I would say like, hey, we just hired a large project for TI and Nora Labs. Wanted to reach out to see if we could help with this project too. Maybe some of our candidates we've sourced could work for you or work for this role.
Sure. I mean, the more you can segment your lead list, the better. Like, I mean, obviously, you'll know the details when you actually do this, but the more segmented the lead list, the better, because then you can write your copy in a much more specific way, which will have a higher response rate. But I'm gonna just write something here, and then once I write whatever I'm about to write, you can then give me feedback, because otherwise, yeah. So I would say. Would you say professionals, or how would you describe a semiconductor?
Yeah, professionals.
Engineer? I'll just do engineer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe engineers would be best for people in this industry.
So in this situation, the subject line versus job name would probably just say something like semiconductor engineers. That's, assuming that, this company that you're reaching out to is trying to hire semiconductor engineers. But you might just say something like, I have 2 semiconductor engineers who are currently looking to move into a new company. That's definitely not the best way of phrasing it, but that's just sort of a general idea. I'm trying to just make it very clear what you are basically saying. I'm not trying to skip around the core message here. I'm just trying to make it very upfront. The thing about the case study thing here is that the case study stuff, in my opinion, only really helps in certain industries where either the companies you mentioned are really well known, or when it's
They would know, like, if I mentioned Texas Instruments and Enora Labs locally, if I'm targeting places in my area, they would definitely be familiar with Texas Instruments and then most likely Enora Labs. So I would feel comfortable sharing that.
So I recently helped Texas Instruments. Sorry, what was the name? Instruments, and what was the other one? And Enora Labs. Mm-hmm. I might be butchering the spelling here, but okay. I recently helped Instruments and Enora Labs hire a few semiconductor engineers. I have 2 semiconductor engineers who are currently looking to move to a new company. All right, so just to be clear, this is definitely not the final version, but this is
this would be a good one to start off with and workshop a little bit. But yeah, I kind of like the overall message and how concise it is.
Yeah, cause this is definitely gonna stand out in the inbox, because it doesn't look like your typical cold email that the average recruiter or recruiting agency is sending. It's really short. It's probably only about 50 words, and it's super segmented and relevant. You're mentioning the exact job type that they're trying to hire in this moment. So you're solving a pain point that they really need solved right now, and you're even mentioning the location here. So what I'm trying to say is this is not the perfect email yet, but all I'm trying to say is that the sort of the foundation is pretty good. So if we just refine it, I think I think the offer needs to be better. I think we need to somehow say if you only pay if you don't work with them for, if they leave in the first 2 months or something, then you don't pay, or whatever. I don't know, but
right, yeah, that's usually the case. We can guarantee that for 3 months.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking here.
One thing, like Texas Instruments was interested in was like the price of these guys. But like, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, maybe putting those notes in there may not help the deliverability.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I mean, exactly. And then also getting to the details like that before they've even responded to you, I feel like that might do more damage than, like, it might decrease.
Right, they might see them as like lower quality candidates if I start saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I obviously, you work in the recruitment business, so this is not, you already know what I'm about to tell you, but like, for most companies when they're hiring someone, price is important, but a lot of companies, price is, I mean, they would rather spend more money on someone who's really great than hire someone who's cheap who sucks. So, for example, when I'm hiring someone, I get recruiters emailing me all the time, and they always make claims like, oh, we have these people, the sort of 1,000 engineers who can do all this work for X amount of money. And the thing is that I don't believe them because I know how difficult it is to find really great engineers. So what I'm trying to say is I feel like the email we've written here is a little bit more realistic, and it's a little bit more down to earth, and it's not kind of making a bunch of, it's just not getting into all these little details that probably at this stage aren't even, they're probably trying to establish if the engineers are even good or not, let alone what the price is.
Yeah, do you think people are more receptive to like an honest email? Like if I were being honest, it's rarely candidates I found for one company are going to match into another because the specifics of what every company is looking for, there's so many nuanced bullets of what they want. Like if I were being honest, it would be say something like, have two candidates, two engineers that are currently looking at a new company. Can I send them to you to see if they connect with your role or if they line up to your position? But maybe they don't care. I don't know. Maybe somebody receiving this would rather just be hopeful instead of more seeing the realistic side of it.
Yeah, because I'll give you an example. I'm actually in the process of trying to hire someone right now, and someone emailed me, I think yesterday, the day before, about what I'm trying to hire the person for, and I actually responded, and I'm doing a call with them this Saturday. And the reason why I responded is not because they said anything magical in their email, but it's just because they hit me at the exact time where I'm looking for someone. So, and it's really that simple. And their email was short.
Yeah, it may not even matter kind of what you write as long as it's the main points. It's really just about the timing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So we don't even have to really overthink it too much.
Yeah. Because like I said, this email that we've written here, the first line basically combines the case study with these two sections I have in the framework. This first line is kind of combining them. You're sort of, or actually no, it's more like kind of. And then these two lines here are basically the offer / call to action, because this is really the offer. It's I have these two semiconductor engineers. And then the call to action is, can I send you their resumes? And the reason why this is a good call to action is because it doesn't require their time. If you say something like, hey, want to get on a call, they're probably going to ignore you because they don't have time for that. But if you just say, hey, guys, send you the resumes, it's yes or no. And if they say yes, it takes 30 seconds for them to scan the resumes. So, yeah, we've been on this call for a while, so...
No, it's no rush. I mean...
Yeah, I just don't want to drag it on too long, but
I mean, because I'm learning a lot here. Like this is helpful for me. So
yeah, because one thing is a lot of people when they're writing cold emails, they in the offer, so sort of in the offer where whatever you're trying to offer the company, they always say things like, okay, you need to have some amazing offer with a risk reversal so that even if something bad happens, there's no risk to the company you're reaching out to. But
are you saying that's the ideal?
Well, I mean, maybe in some situations, like for example, in the cold email campaign that I'm sending for email chaser right now, in that template, I actually do have, but it's not a risk reversal, but it's something similar. It's a really good offer where they can basically use our product for free for a certain amount of time in exchange for feedback. So it's really, they have nothing to lose. But in this situation, I kind of like the fact that the offer or call to action is so simple. It's just, can I send you the resumes?
There's no money.
Yeah, there's no money. You're not trying to sell them. You're just like, hey, here's the resumes. You're trying to hire these people. Here's the resumes. Like it's kind of implied that, okay, if you actually have good engineers that are worth interviewing, then then you can talk about the money and everything. But until you even the company hasn't even established that your engineers are good yet. So trying to talk about the money before you even establish that, in my opinion, is not a good move.
Yeah, the trouble for me at some point will be if I can't have candidates for every single position I reach out to, so I'll have to develop an email that has an offer that's not resumes because I wouldn't be able to provide
Sure.
that at some point. But
What if okay, so this is an idea. Again, I don't run your business, so you can tell me if what I'm about to say is really stupid, but I'll say it anyways. What if at all times you constantly have real job ads being posted to job sites like LinkedIn or Indeed? So for example, if you know that you're reaching out to companies to help them hire semiconductor engineers in whatever locations, at the same time that you're doing that, you could also run some low-cost job ads. Potentially, you don't even necessarily have to say the companies. It can be a fake company just to get these applicants applying to you. And then when they apply to you, you have this inflow of real candidates, real engineers constantly applying to you for these specific positions that you're focusing on. So that whenever you get companies responding to these emails that we're writing right now, you have the candidates ready, basically. That might not be the most ethical thing. Some people might say, hey, you're kind of doing something a little strange there.
That definitely, a majority of the postings are ghost postings. No, that's a great idea, actually. And you say that made me realize there is a way I could finagle that where it's more reactionary and I don't have to spend money on ads. Because LinkedIn has, people can secretly list themselves as looking for jobs. So if someone was like, yeah, send me some resumes, I could go out real fast, run a search for a candidate that looks like it could be a fit that's looking for a job, and then send their profile over.
Yeah. I mean, I don't run your business, so I don't necessarily know. I mean, you know better than I know, but in my opinion, if you are very focused on a specific niche or job type or industry, it would be much easier to scale this because instead of having to somehow find people from 20 different industries, which is not very easy, you could have maybe just one or two of these ghost job ads, which, maybe it's semiconductor engineers or some specific type of lawyer, whatever it is. And you can just really focus on that. And I feel like that'd be a lot easier to scale. But again,
You're right.
It's sort of because I don't want this email I don't want you to write this email in a way that's going to perform worse due to limiting beliefs that you might have about the situation or kind of self-imposed limitations. I don't want you to think, oh, I don't have these candidates, so I have to write a slightly crappier email, which is, it's like, I would rather you have the view of, I'm going to write the best email possible, and then I'm going to do whatever the heck I need to do to somehow facilitate that.
And I think this would work because realistically, this does happen. This is how a lot of recruiting will happen, and it's marketing a candidate. 99% of the time, that candidate's not going to be fit for one reason or another. So I don't, and it always works out. The goal here is to facilitate a next step relationship, and I'll send somebody, they'll say it's not right, or the money will be wrong, something will be off, and then I'll have the opportunity to hopefully work that opportunity and, make that connection and develop a relationship. That's the ultimate goal.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And because once they respond to you, once you send them the resume, and once they respond to that, the dialogue is already in progress. I mean, from that moment, you're in control and you can really dictate where that relationship goes.
Yeah.
All right. So,
I would say this is a good this is a good starter message.
yeah. And also, just to be clear, if if you go out there and you do what we talked about today in this call, you probably want to test multiple different campaigns with slightly different angles on a smaller scale, and then whatever is performing best, you scale that. So I'm not saying go out there and just launch one single campaign without testing anything, and then that's not what I'm trying to say here. This is one email which you can test, and there might be 5 other emails that you also test, and then you're going to find something that works really well, and that's really what I think you should do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to share that Google document with you when we're after this call, so you can edit it and take it for yourself. And I just want to thank you for your time. I enjoyed this conversation. And is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, this is hugely productive, so I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing this.
No problem. And what we talked about today, by the way, before we end this, is it's not complicated, but it's not easy. It's kind of like the gym. Going to the gym is not complicated, but it's not easy. And that's why most people don't go to the gym, because it's hard. You have to put some effort in. So I feel like that's sort of what this is, hiring the person on Fiverr to build a scraper, organizing the Google spreadsheet in the right way, writing the email. Like, you just have to kind of do the work, and then, assuming you do the things right, it's going to work out.
Yeah, I prefer it be a little bit difficult to do. Otherwise, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
So at least I have some kind of competitive advantage there.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, thanks for joining me.